Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Nice shirt.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Home Dad Chat. I don't know about you, but it's been a week. Crazy week, but it's been a week. How you been, Danny?
It's Tuesday, so I'm good. It hasn't been that bad of a week for me, but I did just get a text and an email and a phone call from the school district because school's out tomorrow. Schools are closed because of snow or the winter weather advisory.
Oh, that's right. You guys got the big snowstorm coming in, don't you?
Yeah, it looks, it's going to be at least a day. And all I want is please don't let the power go out.
Yes.
I guarantee by like 11, I'm going to be like, okay, find a screen and shut up. No, this is my quiet time. Usually I'm doing yoga right now. Get out of me.
Here's a book. Here's a pen. Here's some
Right?
paper. Go find a corner.
Go find a corner. Some scissors, glue. I don't care. Yeah,
Right?
but it's been good actually. It's been I'm really kind of excited because I have the kids have picked out a present for their mom. Each kid has picked out a present, so we get to wrap those.
Nice.
And it's really hard to find time when they're home and she's not. So
okay.
I'm gonna avail myself of the time tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that sounds like fun. In its own way. We're coming down to the last couple of days before everything gets shut down for Christmas break here. So the kids have all day tomorrow, and then Thursdays they have Christmas parties for half a day, and then they're done. So
oh wow,
yeah.
really? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so they that's just how the schedule works. But so it'll be fun. I'm looking at taking my son up to either Cabela's or Archery USA and getting him fitted for a compound bow.
Nice.
Yeah, so he's mentioned that he wants to start shooting, and so I was like, all right, well, let's get you set up with something that you can basically like have all the way through, until you're old enough to possibly purchase your own for like more like adulthood type of deal. So yeah, so that's one of the things that's on my list to do while Christmas break's going on.
Cool. You have a place you have a Target in the backyard or a couple bales of hay and a fence or anything?
I've got to get some stuff, but I used to. But we have along the side of our house about 40 yards that we can use. So that's a good bit of target practice. So that's, I just got to get everything else together, but at least we'll get the essentials in place so that we can on nice days get out there and also teach him what it's like to shoot on cold days. So because that's really where when you're shivering and you're trying to hold a bow back, that's where the skill really comes in.
Definitely.
So, and I mean, you met Chris Leppert in Cincinnati, and and we've had him on the show too, but basically I was telling him about it, and he was pretty excited about the fact that Hezekiah is looking into getting into bow hunting, or at least shooting a bow. So that'll be pretty exciting.
We've got neighbors on one side of us. They have two little boys, and they're probably, I'd say maybe, I'd have to guess, maybe 7 and about maybe 9. I mean, they're young kids still, but old enough. But they have been out. They've got it's only a stack of firewood basically, but it's probably 15 feet wide, right? And it's about 5.5 feet tall, and they shoot into it. But if they went high at all, it would be in my yard. So they've been out there. With now they have recurves. They don't have a compound bows, but they have recurves, and then they have what I think were BB guns. but
Yeah.
rifles, and obviously, I mean, they go right into position, like down on one knee, braced on the thing. I mean, all the moves, and it was very impressive to see them when they're so chaotic at other times.
Yeah.
Like I see them like at school because they're in one of the classes for one of my kids, and it's just like they're just normal little, kids that you see running. You wouldn't trust them with a pair of scissors. You're not quite sure, but it was just very obvious that they'd been trained, and just like ding, 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 there we go, and start popping some shots off. It was very impressive.
That's the one thing that I have seen with a lot of kids is that if they have a thing that's structured for them, when they're in that mode of operation for the structure part of it, they're a completely different kid than when they're just out being goofy and being a kid.
Yeah.
They take it seriously. And I really can appreciate that. And honestly, like it's a discipline that is not taught as often as it should be. And I think more kids, if they were, put in that sort of situation, they would probably have a better understanding of, all right, like this is the situation we're in, and like we need to keep ourselves calm, cool, and collective while we're in it. It's not a time for screwing around type of thing. So
right.
So that's good. That's good to hear, man. Hopefully, that they continue down that path, and also they don't shoot over the that
pop
wood
a window
pile.
out of my my workshop or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be fine. I mean, I'm even if they did. I mean, at the worst case, again, it's a BB or a small arrow. I'm not terribly worried about it. I mean, I don't want them obviously shooting into my yard, but
right.
Even if one went over, I doubt that it would be going with enough momentum really because the distance.
Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, but it's pretty cool.
That is cool. That is cool. Well, hey, tonight we've got another board member on for a guest. So we're we got Keith Nagel, who has been vice president of the organization for the past 2 years, I believe. And he's done quite a few other things, and he runs a City Dads group. And he's got a really cool, interesting background on top of that too, from his past that we'll definitely get into. And I love being able to tell my kids that like I was like, oh yeah, like I knew a guy that used to be this, and like my kids' eyes like blow up every time too. So so that's all kinds of fun. But we'll get Keith on here in a minute and see what all he's got going on in his life.
All right.
Become a member of the National At-Home Dad Network, an organization focused on providing advocacy, community, education, and support, connecting with households where dad is the primary caregiver of the children. We do this through our webinar and podcast series, mental health support groups, regular online social events, as well as our annual convention. The National At-Home Dad Network is a 100% volunteer organization. Without the generous support of its members and the community around it, we would not be able to continue the work that we do. Becoming a member gives you access to past convention speaker presentations, the ability to vote for board members annually, and ensures that the organization's fees and bills are in positive standing. Oh yeah, it should not go unmentioned that there is some cool swag headed your way if you decide to become a member. For only $35 a year, your membership provides you with the exclusive content only we can generate, and you'll be supporting an organization that benefits families all around the country and world. By advocating for them, offering them community, providing education and guidance, and supporting them to grow in their parenthood journey. And one last thing, if you contribute $500 or more, you will become a lifetime member. Not only will you receive everything already mentioned, but also a certificate recognizing your status and an exclusive National At-Home Dad Network challenge coin with our trademark logo, Dads Don't Babysit. So, what are you waiting for? Become a member today. All right, welcome back to the show. And as we said before, we've got Keith Nagel, Vice President of the National At-Home Dad Network. And we're having some fun talking with him and just a good old time with that. You recently moved within the past, is it 2 years, I think? You moved from Minnesota to Wisconsin. Is that correct? 2 years?
Yeah, we moved in the middle of COVID. So 2020.
Yeah.
February. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so you moved and things have gotten pretty just you know the normal day-to-day life I'm sure gets pretty interesting with the kids and whatnot. Um what is your family dynamic like? We've been asking all the guys this. So what's that like for your family?
Uh, so my wife is, the full-time parent, of course. So she works retail schedule. So she could work during the day. She might work at night. And so at this point, because our boys are 6 and 8, it's mostly summers that I'm, at home with them. And then during school, they go off to school during the day. And I actually got like a side gig at Starbucks while they're at school. So I'll put them on the bus. I'll go to Starbucks. I'll sling some coffee, have some adult interaction, and then I'm off by the time the bus gets home. So
Drink some coffee.
yeah,
Is it for you? Yeah.
yeah. Drink free coffee, and then I get cash tips so that I can then pay my kids' allowance.
There you go. That works definitely.
And how old are your kids?
6 and 8 is
6 and
how
8.
old
Okay.
right now. Yeah.
All right.
And you have one cat, two cats?
We have one cat, and we recently adopted a dog this
Okay.
summer. Yeah.
I know. I remember when you moved, like you were building like a thing for like the cat to like walk on, and that
Yes,
was pretty
the cat
interesting.
wall.
The
It
cat wall,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, it moved with us. And I'm wondering if I can even just turn off the
Oh,
blur.
the blur in the background to show it.
Yeah.
I know like in different meetings and things like that, like I've seen the cat like walking along. I remember at the other house. Yeah, because you got that. So it's a really neat
Oh
little
yeah. So it's
setup.
canvas.
Yeah, it's a canvas thing, but we're down to one cat, and I would say the cat does not go up there at all. Yeah, so it's canvas from one to the other, and then these things are just sisal ropes around PVC, and so I made all of the posts.
Oh wow.
I bought the canvas thing.
So because it's
Yeah.
one cat, it won't use it?
Well, she was never really the one that used it a lot. The other cat
Oh, I
did.
see. Okay.
And he passed away last year.
Oh, okay.
So we went down to one cat, and then we ended up adopting a dog.
Okay.
What I really love about the dog, and I've never met the dog, I don't know the dog, but I've seen the dog because on the last meeting that we had, you're sitting there and you're running the whole meeting and you're talking and everything's, nothing's, it's just, you can't see anything out of order. Everything's going. And yet at the same time, your dog comes up and gives you a ball and you fling it down the hallway behind you at an angle and it bounces and goes. And sometimes farther, sometimes less. And I'm like, that's cool. You sit there. Some of us have to play with our kids when we're in meetings. Some of us play with our dogs. And I don't know. I just loved it. That was very cool.
I completely understand that. That's exactly what I have to do with my Aussie Shepherd all the time when she's in the office with me too. So, yep.
I love you. Keep running.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much. So you've like I said, you're the VP currently for the organization. But and your kids are 6 and 8, like you were saying. When did you become a stay-at-home dad? When did you find the organization, and when did they hook you into coming to being on the board?
So I became a stay-at-home dad when my oldest was born, so 8 years ago. We were in Seattle at the time, and I was a zookeeper for 10 years before that.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on that later.
Yeah. So zookeeper for 10 years. And then Logan came along in Seattle, and it's very expensive in Seattle. So, zookeepers also don't get paid anything. So the math on, whether we were going to do childcare or me just not work was clearly that I just wasn't going to work, because it didn't make sense to us to basically work to then pay for their childcare. So we had Logan, and we lived in Seattle for another 2 years, and then Sawyer was born. And during that time, because it is expensive in Seattle, I was also doing Lyft driving and Instacart and all those gig jobs.
Yep.
Like the first time that I came out. So like Lyft launched in Seattle. I started doing Lyft. Instacart
Oh, cool.
launched. I started doing Instacart. So I've definitely learned with the gig economy, you got to get in early, get the money, the good
Yep.
money early, and then find the next thing. And so Sawyer came along 2 years later, and then we moved from Seattle to Minnesota when Sawyer was 3 months old.
Okay.
And so then that's when I went full time stay-at-home dad in Minnesota. And that is basically when I found the organization. Like we moved, I met Chris Brandenburg in Minnesota, and he had just started the City Dads group.
What year was that?
That was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2016. And so started getting involved in the City Dads group. He tried to get me to go to Raleigh. But our kids were just too young at the time, and it was very last minute go to Raleigh. And so I said no, I couldn't do it. And then the next year was in Portland, and I'm originally from Washington State. So we did a grandparent tour where we met Leslie's mom in California, and then we flew up to Portland, and I went to Portland, and that was my first convention.
Okay.
That's a good one to start with. Portland was pretty good for a lot of things. I mean, it wasn't perfect and no like anything, but I really enjoyed just about everything that we had to do at Portland. I thought it was great, personally. So
yeah, I mean, still like my favorite breakout is the balloon tying animals, or how to tie balloons.
I think we need to bring that one back. I feel like I've missed out on that one because
everybody went to the laundry.
Everybody talks about it all the time, and I'm like, dang it, I don't know how to make any balloon animals. That would have been cool.
Get some balloons. Just start. You figure it out. You know.
You will figure it out.
First one's a hot dog. I made a hot dog. Yay.
Sounds like a popping good time. That's what
Hey.
Actually, at the dentist that we go to, one of the technicians, she makes balloon animals for the kids after their appointments, which I think is really cool. So that's a big highlight for them.
It really is. And I will say, this is kind of weird that we're talking about this, but I was talking about this morning with one of the dads, and I'm not going to say his name because he doesn't want to be, it's his story to tell in a lot of ways, and he's too introverted to handle it if I expose him. But he was talking about his dad was a clown, you know, and I'm like, yeah, my dad was a clown too. And he goes, no, an actual clown. And he would go and he would make balloon animals, and he taught me how to make balloon animals. And I'm thinking I'm going to just kind of carry some balloons around with me and, you know, just make an animal somewhere and maybe conversation starter or something. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I swear to you, if you pull a balloon out and you make a dog out of it, you will absolutely have a conversation. But two, people will come to you, I am sure, and go, hey, can you make me one? Or you can make my kid one? Do you make hats? Pirate hats are really cool. You can make them out of balloons. It's really funny that we're talking about this now. But
I actually know a professional clown that lives in Chicago that worked for Barnum and Bailey, and he was a blogger. So I met him at Dad too. I don't know if he does balloon animals or not anymore, or does them ever, but I know that he still does the clown stuff. Like he travels around the country or around the world, actually doing being a clown. So, but yeah,
little known fact: I hate clowns. I'm just going to be straight up with you.
Hey, I
hate clowns. If there's a clown walking around in makeup and honky shoes, I am not going to talk to this person.
And I guess I won't send the 1971 Ezra Brooks decanter that I just picked up for free on a Buy Nothing page to you, because it's a clown decanter.
Clown?
It's a clown.
Wait, do you get to rip the clown's head off to drink out of it?
You take his hat off.
That's not nearly as cool. Right. But anyway, I digress.
Oh shoot. But I want to go back to the zookeeper part, because I was telling Danny this, like I love being able to, like, when we're at the zoo and stuff, I'll be like, yeah, like I have a friend who he was a zookeeper, and like my son and daughter are just like, what? Like they think that's just the coolest thing ever.
but not just a zookeeper.
Yeah.
Tell them about, because I had the pleasure, and it was an amazing time for me. I'm sure Keith did not enjoy it as much, but I drove home from the airport in, was it Chicago? Yeah. So we drove, it was a couple hours at midnight to 2 o'clock or whatever it was, and took him back to his house on the way back to my house. And we talked the whole way, or I talked the whole way, and he talked a little bit. And what was your, is it your specialty, Keith?
I
That
would
be
say
what it's
that
called?
I public presentations is probably what my specialty would be. Is that
Okay.
in all my 10 years, I've spent at least 7 of them doing presentations for people. So whether that was with an animal or on stage with an animal, telling people about, what their adaptations are and how conservation messages about,
And what animal? Let's just get
uh,
straight to
it's mostly birds, mostly raptors,
yeah.
parrots, eagles, owls. But then I also did 3 years with tigers.
Tigers, yes, that's where we need
What?
to lead. We need to do, yeah. How do you bury the lead like that? You got to
I do.
start with that. Let me look at the first thing. Oh, I did some birds. This is a presentation. I was, no big deal. No big deal. It's tigers, man. If I did one show with a tiger, if I did one thing with a tiger, and a tiger was on stage with me, that would be the story I told all the time. Much less years doing it with tigers. It's amazing.
So wait, so what were you doing with the tiger? Were you on stage with the tiger?
Yeah, it was free contact tigers. So we would
Wow.
be on stage with them, and so we'd show you like how high they can jump and how far they can jump, and then at the end, because this was in Sacramento, California, there's a big pool, and tigers are one of the cats that love going in the water, and so we
Yeah.
would throw pieces of meat in the water, and the meat would sink, and then they dive down and get it, and so it's this big tank. So you could see them through the water down there getting the meat.
I think I've seen videos of that on TikTok of
Yeah.
of the tigers doing that in San Diego.
The face they make too, because when they're going after it, all the water's blowing all their skin back and everything, and all you can see is like fangs in their eyeballs. It's like, is that going to kill me? No, it's just getting a fish or whatever. It's just doing its normal thing. It's the water pressure.
Just grabbing the meat.
That's really cool.
And I have
though.
to say, if you had told me, maybe not in the entire organization, but like if you had said everybody on the board, all right, everybody that's on the board or that's been on the board the entire time I've been a member of the network, which one of them trained tigers was on or presented tigers, I guess would be right. But which one of them? I'm like, I would have guessed so many people, Keith, no offense. But I'm still just flabbergasted it. And honestly, when you told me the first time, because you have kind of a dry sense of humor, and it's sometimes difficult to tell for me, are you BSing me? No, you're absolutely not. You have absolutely stood on, and there's video of you on stage presenting with tigers. That's I mean, no offense to zookeepers, but that's so much cooler than just zookeeper.
That is cool.
It is. And I like the interaction. I like the interaction with the animals. I like the interaction with the public. There are definitely zookeepers who are not people.
Yeah.
They are animal people, and they don't really like talking to the public at all. They just want to be all about the animal. But I would prefer to be out there telling you about the animal and educating you and doing that aspect of it. That's what I enjoyed the most. Yeah.
Did you ever get any time to check out the Cincinnati Zoo when you were here?
No, I did
No?
not make it to the
Oh, bummer.
Cincinnati Zoo. No.
I wish I'd have known that you were like that in depth with things, man. I could have totally set something up for real. That would have been cool, especially to at least go see, like, because we just got like brand new tigers, and they're so much more active than the older ones. So they're a lot of fun to go check out. But yeah, that the Cincinnati Zoo is definitely like, if you ever get the chance to get down here to bring the kids with you and stuff, come down for like a vacation, like let me know, like we'll go. It's worth it. So that one in the Columbus Zoo. Columbus Zoo is really cool too. We just actually went there for the first time just recently.
We tend to visit a lot of zoos when we travel around. So like we've driven, we made a stop in Omaha, so we went and saw the Henry Dorley Zoo, which is amazing.
Oh wow.
We did a road trip through South Dakota, Colorado, and we made a point to stop in Omaha to go to the Henry Dorley. So yeah, we definitely we stop at zoos a lot.
That's cool. And you go down to Florida a lot. Did you used to work down there too, or do anything with?
We did. That's where my wife met, and that's actually where I started the career, is at Walt Disney World. And so I did the bird show at Animal Kingdom for 3 years.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
like the big show, man. Like I feel like
Right?
that's like
Right?
yeah, like that's
It's
like
like,
a
how do we not know this? I mean, how do you, there's like you should have like a medal or something you're wearing. I don't know. It's so cool.
Yeah, we did 5 shows a day
wow.
with like 30 minutes in between. It's a pretty quick turnaround.
You know what though,
Yeah.
Danny? Keith reminds me a lot of one of the guys that I go to church with. I had coffee with him one day, and we were just chit chatting back and forth. And he sings, and his wife sings also, like in the worship team and everything. And we get to talking, and all of a sudden he's all like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "I used to be a performer for the Lion King down in Disney," and I'm like, "What? Like, you're just gonna keep that in your back pocket, huh?" Like,
Right. Why don't you start with that? Why isn't that like your thing?
Like,
You
I mean,
know?
it explains a lot. Like, I see how you like,
Mhm.
perform on stage when you're doing worship music. Like, obviously, you're very much like professionally trained. I like had no idea it came straight out of the freaking mouse. Like, that's crazy.
Out of the mouse.
And out of the mouse.
Well, if we have the time and you're willing, Keith, I would love for you to tell us the story of how you met your wife.
Well, I mean, so it was in Disney World. We signed up for
But
the college program.
I want the stuff before it, you understand. The
Stuff.
drive down, the people, let's say you left behind when you drove down. I think that we deserve to really know this
I love
story
that
because
I love
love
that
it.
I love that Danny got to hang out with you this much that we can now like pry into
He
this.
did. He's pulling stories.
We talked about everything. It's just what it's a road trip. It's what you do. But
Yeah,
again, we can edit this out or tell, if you don't want to
No,
tell the
it's
story,
fine.
it's,
It's
if you have
totally fine.
secrets that you can't tell us, we won't judge you next time you're up for election.
I mean, that's what, 3 years from now. So
Mm.
you got
Network has a long memory, sir. Just
All right, let's hear this story. So what took place?
well, so I was dating somebody in Seattle because at the time I was at the University of Washington in my senior year, and I applied for this internship down in Florida. It's the college program that Walt Disney does, except that this was the next level. So it wasn't me selling popcorn. It was me doing conservation games with kids, and basically what I ended up doing as a zookeeper is like public presentations, giving conservation messages, interacting with kids, playing these games. And it was all at Animal Kingdom. And so I didn't get the job, and I was in Montana with my family, and I get a call on like Christmas. I think it was Christmas Day, because we were there visiting my aunt and uncle, and they were like, somebody dropped out. Can you be here January 3rd in Florida? and you need your own car as well. You need your own transportation.
Holy cow.
So I, talked to my parents, and we left Montana the next day to drive to Seattle to pack all this stuff up. And then my dad and I drove 4 days straight from Washington to Orlando, Florida.
Holy crap.
right.
That's a trip.
You talk about ultimate road trip with your dad too.
Yeah,
which
no
could
kidding.
I mean, at our age, the thought of going on a road trip with your dad is probably pretty cool. I mean, I would love to, like me and my dad cross country. That would be awesome. But when you're in college or high school, that time of your life, you're like, oh man, I got to spend 4 days with dad in the car.
Yep. And he had to spend one day figuring out what will fit in the car that I want in Florida, because we're not flying it. All it needs to fit in the car. And so, yeah, we spent 4 days. We, left Montana, turned around, came back to Montana, middle of South Dakota, Illinois, because we stopped in Metropolis, Illinois. That was like one of the few spots that we stopped to see the giant Superman.
Nice.
In Metropolis. And then down to Florida, I think, from Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was the weather?
It was. So when we left, there was a storm coming. And so we left Seattle, and like we'd been watching the weather. And so we left Seattle. We're headed, we drive, 11 hours to get to Missoula, which is where my aunt and uncle are. And we spend the night there, and we get up the next morning, and we're like, okay, this storm is like 24 hours behind us. So we start driving, and we get into the middle of the Dakotas, and we were going to stop on one side of the highway, and my dad like looked at the weather, and it's like 12 hours behind us, and he's like, maybe we should just keep driving. So we keep driving, get in the car. The storm's now like 3 hours behind us after we stayed the night.
Oh crap! It's picked up
Continued
speed.
driving. Yeah, it picked up speed, and then as soon as we started heading south, which was about Minnesota-ish, the storm hit us, and it was like freezing rain.
Oh,
And but we were headed south, so it wasn't long till we were out of it. Yeah,
that would be so stressful.
It was.
If you could imagine driving across the Dakotas at the end of December, first of January, anytime in the middle of winter, basically, and going, yeah, we got to be there in, it was like 4 days.
4 days,
and so you have no room for error. And I guarantee winter in Dakotas on the road is all error. There's just everything waiting to stop you. So
well, and in the Dakotas, they'll shut the highway down.
Yeah.
And you'll be stuck. So you need to get out.
I'd never seen that. It was in actually it was in Minnesota the first time, but they have the little like train barriers for the entryway. And I'm like, what is that? And my mother-in-law's, oh, that's when they need to shut down the highway. And I'm like, what do you mean shut down the highway? This is an interstate. You can't shut these things down. And she's like, oh yeah, you can.
Yeah. No, that is the no pass go, no collect $200 is what that is.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what that is for sure. Wow, man. So yeah, I completely understand that. Well, if you think about it right now too, I mean, the weather system that's coming through that area, that would be
Wisconsin now.
Yeah, that would be very similar in some ways. It sounds like winter is coming.
Is school closed for you tomorrow, Keith?
No, it's just rain for us in Wisconsin.
Okay. They've closed our schools here, so.
Yeah, I heard, and it's snowing in Minnesota. So
Jeez.
every time it rains here and snows in Minnesota, we feel so much better about moving here.
I bet you do. I bet you do
every time.
So you get to Florida. How does this work that you end up meeting your wife in all of this?
Well, we were both dating other people at the time. Leslie and I met on this internship. We both did the same internship, and like you meet everybody, and I met her, and we drive. I had to have my own car. We lived about 30 minutes from our workplace, and so I would commute with other people in our internship, and there were like 4 guys and like 12 girls in this internship.
Well, that sounds
I say girls
terrible.
And guys, we were in college, but
yeah.
So yeah, terrible,
odds.
right?
That's some really good odds.
How could you handle it?
So we're driving in, and of course, you're just talking, and so they asked, like, who do you think is the most attractive of the people we work with? Which is a great workplace conversation with your coworkers.
Yeah, right. That's not awkward at all.
Yeah, and I immediately said Leslie. Like, it just was the first name out of my, and they were like, "What do you mean? That she's not the most," like, they were surprised by that, and I also was surprised by it, and was like, all right, now I need to examine why I said that. And then it kind of led one thing to the other, and we kind of both figured out what we wanted, and
it was meant to be.
The heart wants what the heart wants, my man. That's what that is.
Well, if you look at the cascade of events that had to happen, for you to be there, and for so many things to kind of just align just that way. I love the, probabilities and chance, the idea of those things, around our lives. And it's amazing to me, because how long have you been married? Is it 10 years? I don't remember.
15 at this point.
15 years.
We were engaged for 6, and then we got married a year later. So we got married young, like 24.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
Great. Good age. Fantastic.
Corey and I actually will be coming up on 16 this May. So yeah, we're right there in the same area. So
yeah,
that's cool, man.
19.
So with the fact that you got the 2 young ones and you've moved and things like that, what kind of things do you like to do for self-care for yourself? That's a really dumb question. Why did I say it that way?
Self-care for yourself.
Yeah. What do you like to do? So what is it? What are your favorite things to do in the form of self-care?
I mean, since we moved into this house in COVID, the last owner actually left a personal gym in the basement. So
Nice.
there's a weight machine in the basement. And so about 2021, I'd say it took me about a year to actually get it to it. I started using that machine, and like I reached out to a friend who I saw on Facebook who had been working out, and I'd seen improvements. And so I just asked, like, hey, what's the workout that you do? I have this machine. I don't have any workouts, what? And he gave me a basic like 4-day program, like upper body, lower body, take a break, upper body, lower body, and that's your week.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that since 2021. And so I try and hit every day, all 4 of the days. It doesn't always happen. Friday tends to fall to the wayside sometimes, which of course is leg day. And then when I do get back to it, my legs are sore for like 3 days. But it's like squats and RDLs. And so
Oh yeah.
Is it a Bowflex machine?
No, it's not. It's a machine from like the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, the manual was still down there. So I took photos of the manual.
Was it yellowed?
It was in a basement, so it hadn't yellowed because there was no sunlight down there.
I don't know if it got water, it got a little bit maybe like damp or something like that.
Yeah, it was the photos on there are real classic. So
the 80s weren't that long ago. Okay.
I mean, I was born in the 80s, so
Oh God.
yeah, it's a little burden for you.
Danny, I was born in 1980. What are you talking about?
What?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm still the youngest on the board at 80.
Ugh.
Wait, when
I'm
were you?
definitely in the oldest.
I'm 1983.
Okay, yeah. I'm 1980. So yeah, you probably are the youngest then.
1969, baby. Just saying.
Oh shoot.
So
right,
yeah, working out. And then
Okay.
I would say the other thing is that I also referee soccer, and I started doing that in Minnesota. And I would like to do it more, but it's just figuring out the schedule of when my wife's available to watch the boys so that I can go do that.
What age group are you reffing?
All ages. I mean, because club can be all ages.
Oh, okay.
But I've also I did a year of high school in Minnesota, and then I continued doing some high school here in Wisconsin.
I could see that being definitely more enjoyable, I guess, in some ways, or like I don't know, when it comes to like little kids, this is like herding cats when it comes to reffing a small like
magnet ball. Yeah.
I mean,
cluster ball.
the focus is different. I mean, you're like you're not, when someone messes up a throw in, technically you're supposed to give it to the other team, but like if they're 8 and they're jumping off the ground, you're like, all right, go take it again. And don't take your feet off the ground, or like those kind of things at that age. Whereas then when you're doing a high school, if they pick their foot off the ground, you give it to the other team, because
they should know.
You should know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a serious infraction at that point. So definitely.
Yeah.
Now, those are 2 cool physical things that you do, and that's awesome. And self-care is what it is for each person. But I want to say, from the conversations we've had, and it's been a big part of the conversation, but your job as a barista or at Starbucks, I feel, is right in your wheelhouse for self-care.
Yeah.
Because it is talking with people, it is being able to be gregarious and fun and just enjoying your day, and then also coffee. So I feel like that's really an excellent choice for you, and definitely falls into self-care, because I have to imagine you come back from that more recharged than you would if you were, say, I don't know, I can't imagine a job that would, take it where you had to be by yourself. You couldn't talk to anybody. You had to work with like stones all day, So
no, it for sure. And that's why I returned to it, because I did it last year.
Oh.
And then, took the summer off, and then came back in October of this year, because I do enjoy doing it a lot. And it's very busy. Like this Starbucks, I heard, is the second busiest drive-through in Wisconsin.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very high volume store. So you're constantly moving, you're constantly making drinks. Like today I worked at least 3 hours on the bar, and it was just nonstop, just sequencing and, you know, juggling all these things in your head and moving back and forth, because the whole milk's in the cold bar, and they got lemonade for honey citrus mints, and then teas over there. And so it's all these things that you're doing in your head while also trying to interact with people. So it's a great way to pass times. But then at the same time,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, I have board work I need to be doing.
Stop blowing up my phone right now. Like, yeah. Hello. I've
So
seen those. I've seen those come through. Like, I am a barista right now. I will talk to you all later.
Yeah.
Which I completely
So
understand.
there is some self-care to it, but then I also do feel like, there is all this time. If I wasn't doing it, I would have time to do these other things. And so now I'm trying to squeeze them in. So yes, there's some self-care there, but it's also, of course, adding some stress. But it's also, I'm also getting paid for it. So it's a juggle. It's always a juggle of
yeah, definitely. So being at Starbucks, I'm always curious of this. What is the most like complicated / expensive thing that has someone come in and like just like ordered?
Today somebody ordered this Frappuccino that I was like, I don't know what this thing is or why anybody wants to drink it. But there's a vanilla bean cream frap. So it's vanilla bean powder in whole milk. And you normally just put that with ice in a creamer and you blend it, and that's the Frappuccino. She wanted to add toffee nut syrup and sugar cookie syrup to it, and then whipped cream on the bottom with like caramel topping on the bottom, and the whipped cream and caramel topping on top, and extra caramel. And I mean,
oh my goodness.
Yep, that's a lot. That's a lot of unnecessary.
There it is. Yep.
There's a lot of diabetic deaths happening because the amount of sugar that is in some of these drinks.
Yeah, I remember working at a coffee shop when I was in college, and it never got anything super crazy, but there would always be like one guy who would try to like be like, let me see what I can put together here to make this, this expensive. I'm like, you're ridiculous, dude. Shut up. Get out of my shop.
The only thing I've done anywhere near that is to do a suicide on the at a fast food restaurant and do one of each drink. Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, orange, let's go. Yeah. And that's about as close as I've gotten to most complicated. And it was gross. But I still drank it because someone dared me to, because I'm an idiot. But
only little kids in Little League can drink those because they have no taste. They have no taste buds.
They have nothing. They don't appreciate it. They have no palate.
I'm guilty of that. I did that when I was a kid. So that was like the drink. You just walked up to the old ladies there at the cash concession stand. I'd like a suicide, please. They had them all made up, pre-made. They're like, here you go.
Pre-made.
Let's go.
Because they knew it was coming. All right. So self-care, check. What about movies? Are you a movie guy? Do you like watching movies?
I do. I mean, and I've been doing this. Entertainment did a 55 films your kids should see before they turn 13.
Oh, are you going down the checklist of that?
Yeah. So I've been doing that with the boys. And I started in Minnesota. So, I mean, we're at 5 years now going on.
Okay.
And so like you start, there's a loose order to it.
Yeah.
Like it starts with the Muppet movie. And the idea is that these are movies that kids should see for either cultural like references, like Princess Bride is in there, and like people who like don't get the schnozberries taste like schnozberries because they haven't seen Willy Wonka, and or like those things that someone will say like marriage, and if you haven't seen the Princess Bride, you don't know what they're talking about. And these are things that like, so the whole article was written by the idea of like, your kids should know these things. They should be able to grasp that.
Love it.
And there are other movies in there that are more artistic, like The Red Balloon is in there, which is like this French film.
Yeah, that'd be a little difficult, I think, for a kid under
yes and no,
10 maybe. I mean,
no, I showed it to the boys when they're 6 and 8 now, so they were like 4 and 6 when we watched The Red Balloon, because there's
All
no
right.
words in it.
Yeah,
It's a kid and a balloon, and they actually were really into it.
that's cool. I
Yeah.
love to hear that, because now I'm going to go find these 55 movies and make my kids watch them, and they're going to hate me.
I feel like I feel like kids can get into like a silent movie or something that like maybe they can't understand the words in it, but it's got, you know, good motion and things like that. Like that's my kids surprise me a lot with that. We'll watch stuff and I'm like, I can't believe you're actually getting into this. Like I'm like, this isn't something I would enjoy, but they really took to it. So that's cool, man. Do you
we
what
we
would you
watched
say? Yeah, go ahead.
we watched Charlie Chaplin's The Kid,
Oh
which is
wow.
Really?
also, yeah, that's also on the list. Like I'm
Wow.
really
Okay.
doing it. Like I showed them these things, so I paid to watch that on Amazon, and then that actually led us down this other road where my brother suggested we watch Buster Keaton's The Train movie that he did.
Oh yeah, I don't think I've ever
Wow.
seen that, actually.
What the title of
That's
it is, I can't think of it now, but it's amazing.
is it?
Yeah, because
Okay.
Buster Keaton does ridiculous stunts back in the day, like real live action. Like he's on the front of the train and it's moving, and there's a log in front of the train, and he has to throw a log that will move the log off the track, otherwise the train would derail. And like they did it like live action. If he had missed it, the train absolutely would have gone off the rails.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Wow.
And it was like one of the
that's
most expensive stunt shots because they blew up a bridge and the train goes off a bridge.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and the
Okay.
boys they loved it.
Oh
So,
yeah. That's cool. So what
yeah,
would you say is your favorite out of what you've watched so far?
I think it was the General. I think that's what it's called because the train's called the General.
Oh, okay.
Um, I mean, out of what we just watched Roger Rabbit. Um, I've always enjoyed Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
That's a good
and
one.
so yeah, as they're getting older, we're moving into more, because Jessica Rabbit's in it, and it's a little.
well, there is that.
There is
There's
that. Yep.
there are some innuendos that
And Betty
clearly
Boop's in there.
you talk about a reference they don't understand. Betty
Yeah.
Boop.
Yeah, I mean, I barely get that one.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
old.
well, and all the Looney Tunes are in it, which to me, as a kid, like I got that, but like Looney Tunes are not necessarily, besides Space Jam, in their realm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the
so
thing
it
with
is
the thing
interesting.
with yeah, and the thing with that movie is that like there had to be like there were special requests that went back and forth between Warner Brother and Disney to even like make that movie possible.
Mhm.
And like I was seeing where recently it was said that, you know, however much time Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck had on screen, you had to have Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck had to have the exact same amount of time, and so that's why you see like
Like
most of
they
the
share the
scenes
scene.
they share the scenes exactly. That was the way that they got away with that, but they also were able to bring in all these other characters, and we watched that actually. My kids watched it, and they like the Looney Tunes so much that actually one of the local stations here in town, like it's a Me TV channel on Saturday mornings, shows Tom and Jerry and the Looney Tunes, and they get up, pour themselves a bowl of cereal, and basically become 90s kids and sit there and watch 80s and 90s kids and sit there and watch cartoons all Saturday morning, which I love. So it's like 2 hours of them just watching Looney Tunes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's been very fun and interesting because like we watched The Wizard of Oz, which
Mhm.
obviously has a ton of references in it. And my mom was worried about the flying monkeys because she saw it in the theater
Oh,
and
Yeah.
was very scared of them.
Very scary. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was like, "Were the boys scared?" And I was like, "No, not at all. It's
No.
they don't look like monkeys. They're not. No, they're
Mhm.
not scary at all."
nope.
And but then it's been interesting to, so like then in Who Framed Roger Rabbit at the end when he melts in the dip, it's like a straight Wizard of Oz reference.
Yep.
And so then I kind of talked to the boys about like, hey, when did you last see that, and see if they can pull it. And so
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's very
that's cool.
interesting.
So out of what you have left, what are you looking forward to showing them?
Well, what is it? I mean, Back to the Future is my favorite movie. I don't know if
Oh,
Back
that's
to
a
the
good
Future's
one.
on that list
It's a good 3.
because it is a good 3.
Are the Indiana
Jurassic
Jones movies on there?
because the thing is that before they're 13, and so the last film on there is Jurassic Park.
Oh gosh, my
And
kids have watched all those. We actually just started watching the newest one tonight.
yeah, and the whole theory is that once you've seen Jurassic Park, then you've kind of opened the door to PG-13,
Oh,
and you can go down that route. So everything before, is kid film, and there's things in
Yeah.
there that, you might get close to. Like Roger Rabbit was a little scary at times. Like for our 6-year-old, he got a little scared at times from Roger
sure.
Rabbit. So it's kind of gauging where your kids are at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Annie
Yeah.
from 1982 is on there.
Yep.
'Cause
We
I
watched
looked it
that
up.
one. We watched
Wall-E,
Annie.
The Sound
There's a
of
lot of the
Music.
Disney. Sound of Music we watched. Yeah.
See, for me, like my kids have
Oh, the Iron
we
Giants on
did the
Oh, yeah.
one summer where we watched like all of the MCU movies. So like they've seen all like the Marvel movies.
Mhm.
And then I
Yeah,
think
like
we've watched most of the Star Wars stuff too.
yeah, like Star Wars, we've watched those. They've watched Harry Potter because we're into those. So we're not, we hit some of those things on there.
Yeah.
Like the Avengers is on there,
Okay.
but it doesn't include any of the ones that lead up to the Avengers.
Oh shoot,
They're
just
not
like
in
they
the
just throw the
55.
Avengers in there.
They're just like, oh, here's the Avengers. And I'm like, well, at some point, I'm going to have to show them the others to then show them that one.
No kidding. There's like a whole order for just that itself.
Wow. Yellow Submarine is in there.
Oh wow, the
That's
Beatles. Wow.
yeah. That's. I mean, I honestly, if I could get my kids to sit and watch that, I would love for them to watch it just for the exposure. Which
Yeah.
obviously that's why it's on this. The animation is.
So where did you find
know.
this list at? What is it? Where was it?
It was on Entertainment. So like
Okay.
Entertainment Magazine.
Okay.
That's where I saw it first.
And it's 80
EW.com.
55
55.
movies before they turn 13.
Okay.
Incredibles. Yay.
we'll have to put the link for that in there if anybody's looking to try to maybe do that as well, because that does sound interesting. And also too, like if you're just like, what movie we want to watch, at least you have that list you can pull from if you can't think of anything else.
The EW website is really terrible. It's
Oh,
so
sure.
many ads and videos and clips, and so it just constantly reloads. So actually, if you look on IMDb, the list exists on IMDb as well. You can get the list of all 55.
Oh, okay.
The EW gives little short clips about each movie and like what's the value and like why you should show it to your kids. But if you just want the list, go to IMDb because that will be
All
much
right.
quicker.
Well, we'll put the imdb.com one on there instead for sure. So a few other questions for you before we have to go. So I know you like to vacation a lot. What is the favorite vacation that you and your family have gone on so far?
Well, my wife and I this June went to Ireland for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was
Now, that
jealous
wasn't
about that one.
family trip because the grandparents came out and stayed with the boys. It was
That's
just
awesome.
us two. So we went, and that was an amazing countrywide tour that we did.
We could have a whole nother show with you about just your trip to Ireland, honestly, because that was like the stories that you were telling us about that was awesome. So that's cool, man.
It was a great trip. I mean, as a family, I think we just went on the boys' first cruise, like a Disney cruise. And we really enjoyed that. And we're actually going to go on another in January. Because they were doing a Disney Plus discount where if you were a Disney Plus subscriber, you got your third and fourth passenger for free.
Wow.
In a
nice.
room. So the kids are basically free.
Yeah.
So that's why we're going again. And we're going down to Mexico because the boys are in a Spanish immersion. So they're learning Spanish and English at the same time.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah. So future vacations, we're looking at Spain, Costa Rica, Central America, those kind of places where they can flex that muscle.
Okay. That sounds awesome, man. Wow.
Yeah.
When you don't have the kids with you, do you have a go-to either like what do you like to listen to in the car?
I mean, like most people, I like podcasts, but in the car, in the van, since it's the fancier vehicle, we have Sirius. So I listen to NFL radio during the season. And then otherwise it's Alt Nation usually for me.
Love Alt Nation. Wait, so
Except for
so
Madison.
so as far as
Madison's
for NFL, like
Yeah.
what what are you a fan of? Because I mean, like you were saying, like you lived in Seattle, you lived in Minnesota, you live in Wisconsin. Like those are some pretty powerhouse teams. So who's your team?
Oh, I'm a Seahawks fan through and through.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Okay.
grew up in Washington, went to University of Washington in Seattle. So I'm a Husky fan. I'm a Seahawks fan. Yeah, I'm not, switching to the Vikings because who wants to be a Vikings fan by choice?
Oh,
If my wife or her family hear this, he's just joking.
put the knife down.
But yeah,
I mean, kickers are people too. You can't,
Oh shoot.
I made the mistake of stepping between my mother-in-law who was cooking in the kitchen, and I walked behind the couch and stopped in front of the TV, and she couldn't see the Vikings game, and she hit me in the back of the head with a rolled up towel. Right. And she's like, bap. And I'm like, what did I do? And my wife was like, you stood in front of the TV, you moron. And I'm like, I didn't know. And everybody in her house was like, but you should. And we'll hit you again if you do. I mean, it was just very, don't get in front of the. My wife's mom said the only thing she couldn't do when she moved to Atlanta was become a Falcons fan or stop being a Vikings fan. It's hilarious. Just dyed in the purple.
Oh my goodness. And then on top of it too, she made you, go in the corner and drink blood of the goat out of the horn, right? I guess that was part of it as well.
We're not supposed to talk about that, Brock. I thought
I'm sorry. That's
I don't know why
my
you
bad.
bring that up.
I mean, these Viking fans, what are you going to do?
I got I have, I'm not into sports, but we got a bank account when we came here to Wisconsin. And so they said, you can choose whatever you want on your debit card. I'm like, well, we're never going to use it. We're using from our old account, but okay. Cause we had to do it for the house and all that stuff. And I'm like, all right. Well, can I get the one with the Vikings thing on it? And my wife was like, huh? Really? And I'm like, yeah. But not because I love the Vikings. And she's like, but that's amazing. I'm like, no, it's so that I can pull it out at a store in the middle of Wisconsin and go, hey, are you a Packers fan? Neat. Just see what happens.
I'm just trying to start a fight with cheese.
Yeah, just want to see what's happening,
Oh my
Anyway.
gosh, Danny. If you wonder where World War III is going to start, it's going to start up in Stevens Point.
I've seen people here wearing full Vikings gear.
Oh,
like there were two guys. I mean, they're like employees at the Best Buy. And then there was a guy at whatever, I think Joann's Fabrics, whatever store I went to, and he's fully, and I'm like, are you not scared? A little worried? I mean, I can make a joke with my card because nobody ever sees it, but there's no way anybody's, and they're like, no, it's fine. It's the Midwest. They, everybody's kind of cool with each other. And I guess they are because those guys are still there.
I say, do you get much heat, Keith, from for being a Seahawks fan, living all the way over as far away from
anywhere other than near Seattle?
Yeah, I guess that would be the way. No.
Not really. No. I mean, my wife is a 49ers fan, so that's the most heat I get.
Wow.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, that seems to be a popular team for sure. Although right now, like their quarterback, I mean, one has my first name, so that's pretty cool. But but anyway, aside from that too, like they seem to be a very popular team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go, I know that you have a dry sense of humor, but do you by any chance have a dad joke to present?
Well, I'm stealing this from TikTok because I saw it the other day and I thought
Brilliant.
it was hilarious. But it's I accidentally swallowed invisible ink. I'm now sitting at the doctor's office waiting to be seen.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
it's good, man. It's good.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Did you hear Charlie's last week? No, Charlie's last week was do you know why Han Solo was upset about his steak dinner?
No.
It was Chewie.
Oh man.
Yeah, right. I mean, come on, Charlie. That's okay.
I told that one to Corey yesterday because she was kind of having a rough go. And she was like, that's so bad, but she was laughing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So bad.
So you know it's a really good one. When everybody goes, oh man, I'm going to tell it to everybody, but I shouldn't.
At Starbucks today, someone asked, how long we wear the red aprons for. And I was like, well, just for the holidays. And she was like, well, it's a good thing because, when you wear red, you're the first one to go. And I was like, you're making a Star Trek reference? Like, yeah, yes, I am.
I was gonna,
Excellent.
I would have just been like, just for a few weeks. Just for a week.
See, I would have been like, yeah, average like 6 hours. Then I go home.
Then I go home.
I mean,
Oh man.
all right.
Well, it's been a blast. And honestly, like I definitely say that I've learned a lot as far as I didn't know all the zookeeper stuff, and that was super cool to hear about for sure. But
Tigers.
I know tigers, right?
Tigers.
Like
It's
what in
just
the
so
world?
cool.
If you ever want to sit down and have a drink with somebody and talk about tigers at Home Dad Con, Keith's your guy.
It's true. Tiger King was an interesting show.
Oh God. Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Some inside knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine you probably had quite a few comments while watching it for sure. Oh my goodness. So yeah, you said you're on for 3 more years. Did I miss something there? Like
Just got
I
re-upped.
just got re-upped with Matt in Phoenix. So
that's right. Okay. Yep. That's right. Like I said, when I'm in, you'll find this out, Keith, probably. I mean, you remember how Minnesota was. Some things are a blur. But yeah, so you got 3 more years. Well, that's cool. And honestly, I really appreciate just what you've been doing with the organization and the way that you've been just upholding the VP position, because in all honesty, like I feel like, JHG is really good in his spot, and to have somebody like you running alongside of him is just a great like support in being able to keep things moving with the organization. That those 2 positions, I feel like, is something that those were like I feel like those were like the influx positions when I came into the organization too. And so
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like how is this all going to pan out? And so just you and him being kind of 1 and 2 has really, I feel like, leveled things out and kind of helped us to just basically start climbing up the hill, and definitely some really cool like future endeavors coming. And so that's the exciting thing, and that's the thing that I really appreciate about you being on the board. I just wanted to tell you that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no,
Uh,
I've definitely enjoyed my time. It's why I ran again.
I
Because
I appreciate that you do everything.
I don't do everything.
You don't do everything. No, there are other people doing things, but there's so many things that comes along. It's like, oh man, who's going to do that? And you're like, oh yeah, I when I did that, I couldn't wait for you guys.
But you have your hands in a lot of different areas, as far as like the website and Home Dad Con right now. And you're
Committee chair.
a committee chair. Yeah, and you're in the executive portion of things. So I mean, there's a lot that you're involved in. I mean, even the website itself, I watch it from afar because I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on, but I see what you and Ian are doing, and God bless Ian for jumping on and honestly helping us out. Like that's been awesome. But I think just the 2 of you being able to kind of work that all out has just been a huge effort that I'm looking forward to seeing the final product. And I feel like, you guys chip away at it every day, and I'm excited for when it's finally all there. But like I said, like you guys do a ton with that, and it takes a special person to really to work with that, and then like be like, here it is, and it's like it's not complete yet, so like don't get too critical of it. Just we got to do some other things. And I'm like, yep, totally understand. Like you do you, man. So that's the other thing I really appreciate is just the amount of time you put into working with the website.
Yeah, it's you learn I've learned how to do a lot of new things. And you teach yourself, and then you learn and you get better at it. And so that's kind of what I've been working at. And so yeah, we should have everything up and running January 1st is my goal here, as far as a new Home Dad Con website. We already have our memberships up there. That hasn't changed. If you need to renew your membership, that's up there. You can do that today if you wanted to, or wait till January 1st. Either way, but that's all ready to go. So we're excited to get going.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for talking with us and giving us all this fun information. Because honestly, like, I feel like every time we bring a different board member on, Danny and I like find something new out. And I feel like the members that listen to it and our listeners that are checking out the show as well, like, they're getting bits and pieces, and you see them talking about it as well. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us today. And I look forward to getting to spend some time with you here at the board retreat, and then also in Wisconsin at Milwaukee for Home Dad Con. And like you said, January 1st, things will be up and available, hopefully for all that information as well, so that people can start kind of signing up and getting things ready for that. So, but yeah, with that, we'll talk to everybody next week. I'm gonna say bye.
Yeah, you're doing the Midwestern goodbye. So
I'm doing the big
night,
Western. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, there it is.
I slapped my leg twice. Like, oh, time to go.
Twice?
Yep. Slap my leg twice.
All
Now,
right.
come on.
Bye now, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.